In today's Pop Beat Breakdown, I'm showing you how I made a beat in the style of Charlie Puth, and more specifically, his most recent song, Changes. So by watching this video to the end, you'll get a complete understanding of the process of building this style of production from the ground up, as well as getting that really cool, saturated 80s sound as well. I'm going to be showing you how to make that. So make sure you stick around in this video because I'm going to be giving tips throughout. So this is the beat right here. What we're going to do is we're going to go from the top down on everything that was added to create a beat in the style of Charlie Puth, Changes. And this is the order everything's added, as I said. So we are starting up here. Now, the main fundamental element is the keys in the Charlie Puth track and in a lot of Charlie Puth tracks as well. So it's all about getting a real nice warm electric piano sound. So for the electric piano, I actually used the Electric Grand 80. This is a Waves plugin. By the way, every single plugin today, which isn't Logic Pro X, I'll leave a link below so you can check it out after this video if you feel like this is something that's going to improve your music productions. So what I did was I used the chorus line, then I've just turned up the bass, turned up the treble, and turned up the mids a bit, and I've also added in a little bit of reverb, which sounds like this. And as block chords, it sounds very clean. Now, one thing in a lot of Charlie Puth productions next is to really emphasize the chords. You want to add in some piano. So for the piano, specifically today, I wanted a very compressed piano sound. So I used Compressed Pop, which is the Maverick, which is Native Instruments plugin. And I just laid in the root notes, playing the low bass note. This adds a real nice low warmth to the keys. This is also something that you can very much characterize with a lot of 80s music, that kind of really low, compressed pop piano sound, which just puts a stamp, especially on the choruses, because that's where we've added. Then I've also added in a couple of different piano layers as well, just to start creating a little bit of movement in the track. So yeah, so that's mainly the main premise of the chords. Now, this wouldn't be 80s pop without loads of disco 80s sounding percussion. So for this, I actually went into Splice and I just searched anything which was 100 BPM. And I found these 3 different layers which all just bring something which gets it close to the Charlie Puth Changes track. So this is the first layer that I added in. Next, I added in this. And lastly, I added in this one. Now, all of these I've put sample delays to the left and the right to create a little bit of spread between them, because I really want the percussion on the sides of the mix. I don't want them down the middle, because especially when there's a vocal on top of this production, it's going to sound very messy and almost too much traffic in the mix. Too much is going on down the middle, which again will make it sound messy. And we don't want that. So make sure you got your percussion out to the sides of the mix, and then it should sit in really nicely. The next thing I added in was some electric guitar. So for the electric guitar, we have used the electric Mint, the Funky Magic, and this is all manually played in using muted guitar, just like create some little nice muted guitar in the background to create a little bit more movement to the rhythm section. Obviously, it sounds a little bit bizarre by itself, but in the context of the whole mix, sounds pretty cool. So the next thing we need to do then after that is add in a bass guitar. So what I've done is gone in and used the Rickenbacker bass, and I've just played in a bass line, which is kind of like, we want it to be groovy, we want it to bounce off the piano. This is when it can work really well. So I just mute the piano, solo the piano rather by itself, and listen to it with the bass guitar. Just to add a nice little bit of like a funk to the rhythm section. And then I've added in a deep 808 bass. This is in Alchemy and Logic Pro X. I used to like to use the deep 808 bass with the attack at 15%. Get rid of a little bit of that stab, but get this really nice like sort of like deep sub in the chorus, and only put this in the chorus because then it'll really help with the transition from the pre-chorus to the chorus and that lift. Very cool. Now for the drums. So for the drums today, I actually managed to find a sample splice which worked really well, sounded really good, but it was also very thin. I'll play what it sounded like before I put any sorts of EQing on. It was lacking a little bit of low end and was a little bit too high, so I added in this channel EQ, boosting the lows and the mids and then cutting out the highs. And all of a sudden it sounds a little bit more boxy and bass heavy, which is very good characteristic to have in 80s drums. Which, accompanied with this little drum fill I found, makes the rest of the track that we have so far really cool. Now we just need to tie this up with some last ideas to just help the production have them gaps filled. So first thing I did was add a chill out pad. This is just like a little pad in the background which just flutters there. But it's filling in some gaps in the production which needed filling. Then obviously I added a crash next, just to really obviously put a stamp on the chorus. Then we got tambourine. Super simple stuff. And then I found one last percussive element just to really just add that final layer. Now I'll give you a play now of what the final track sounds like, but there's something else which I've added to this which really brought this up a level. So firstly, this is the track. However, how do you get a really nice warm analog 80s sound? Well, there's just one plugin which I've used on certain instruments which has achieved that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn it off before I explain to you what this plugin is. So on every single plugin that I've applied it, I've turned it off. Now let's have a listen. As you see, all of a sudden, it doesn't sound as good. The keys are very stabby. They don't feel like they're kind of really nicely warmed into the mix. Now, if I turn this back on again slowly as I loop this, you'll hear what this plug is doing. So this plugin is actually the Abbey Road Saturator. Now this plugin, really, really good for adding that kind of as it says, that saturation, that warmth that you get in 80s tracks. Now, the best thing we could do is listen to this on the keys first, because this is when I first added it in. If we just turn it off and we just listen to the keys by itself, very almost stabby, very bright, almost harsh. So I put on the keys forward preset onto this, and this is what it made it sound like. Gave it this really nice kind of I wouldn't say tinny, but kind of this radio's, a retro sound feel to it, which just really helped bring in the characteristics of an 80s track a lot more. Got rid of all the harshness as well. It's a very cool preset to use. Worked its magic very well. I also used it on the piano as well, so if you listen to the piano by itself, so that's what the piano sounded like before, and then when I added the Abbey Road Saturator, as you can hear, this is really nice high air added, but it's not a bright or harsh air. It's just a really nice warm high end. That's something that's very hard to mix in, and this plugin just puts it straight in. This was on the piano vibe preset. A couple other things as well that I added this plugin to. So for example, this percussion here, if we listen to it by itself and then I added this, listen to that. So I added the vintage timbre too. It just added all these artifacts and all this white noise sound, but it just made this little percussion section come to life. Which just, in the whole context of the mix, it just not only does it fill in more gaps, but it really helps create this really nice retro feel to the overall production. And it just gets better the more instruments that you slap this on, the better it just sounds. So yeah guys, that is how to make a beat in the style of Charlie Puth, and more specifically his new song Changes. If you like this video, Make sure that you comment below. If you have got any more questions, smash the like button and the subscribe button as well. And if you want this beat for yourself, I'll leave a link below so you can download this beat for yourself to release it on all major streaming platforms. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Keep making music, and I'll see you in the next video.